So, good morning to all of you. Today, I'm going to start the new chapter, that is chapter 16, Networking Fundamentals. In this chapter, we are going to learn what is the meaning of networking, what are the different types of computer networks depending on their geographical area covered, then the type where the data is getting stored, and the physical arrangement of computer. Based on these categories, there are different types of networks which we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay, so before starting this, first let me clear it. What is the meaning of networking? If I'm not using the term computer network, then networking refers to the interconnected group of people, any kind of objects, companies, or computers. So, depending on the type of object you're connecting, that network will be named accordingly. So, if two or more computers are connected together for the purpose of sharing resources, and any other information, then it will be known as a computer network. Whenever you're connecting computers or any other device together, then there should be some purpose. That's why I use the term that computer network is the connection of two or more computers together for the purpose of sharing information and resources. The connection of networks form networking. That process of connecting the devices together is known as networking, and that connected network will be treated as a means if it is computers, then computer network. If it is railways, then railway network. Accordingly, the name will be given. Next comes the types of networks based on the geographical area covered and the number of computers or devices connected. Okay, types of network here based on their geographical area. So we have many types. We'll start with PAN, that is personal area network. If you consider your own computer at home which you are accessing a network, and along with that you have connected so many devices, like you have a Bluetooth earphone, then you have a mobile phone, you have a laptop, you have a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth enabled printer or scanner, even mouse and keyboard also are available in Bluetooth or Wi-Fi mode. So all these things at a local level, it means within 10 meters that distance is getting covered, you are making that network, then it will be known as personal area network. And here you need to keep in mind that what type of connection you are going to use. Obviously, as I use the term, Bluetooth can be used, then USB connections, you have data cables, USB enabled data cables are there, and then a Wi-Fi, as I told, that scanner or printers can be the Wi-Fi enabled one. So using these technologies, all these devices are connected together, and again the purpose is same, sharing information and resources. Then comes local area network, where number of computers will be more, and the geographical area, it's not a limited area of 10 meters, it is in kilometers now, about 10 kilometers. It can be a building, it can be an educational organization. So where the number of computers may vary from 2 to 1000, then that will be known as local area network. And here the connectivity can be wired only. Wired means you will be using coaxial cable or telephone cables for connecting these computers together. One Ethernet cable is there, which is basically used in local area network. Then comes metropolitan area network. In a city, when different networks you're connecting, like we have police stations which are connected together, we have hospitals which are connected together within a city. Then you can take example of our school only. One branch is there in Dhurva and one in some other area, and both are connected together. So within a city, we are connecting two lanes or more than two lanes together, then it will be known as metropolitan area network. Again, you keep in mind, again the geographical area covered is more, and then number of computers are also more. Last comes wide area network. When different types of networks all over the world are connected together, then that becomes your WAN or wide area network. Here, if the means nowadays the internet we are using, that will be the biggest example of WAN. Then comes, what are the advantages of computer networks? First thing, sharing hardware. In one computer, if I have connected the printer, it can be shared among different all the connected computers. It's not like for each and every individual computer you have to purchase a printer. Then sharing software. In one system I have saved the data, and other systems which are connected to that system, system, they can access the data. Same way sharing files. I have to install one, suppose Adobe Flash in all the computers. Instead of storing the main files in all the computers, in the main computer I save the file, and from there only I'll access that file in other computers. Next comes backup. Backup means when you are going to store your data in more than one location. So individually, if you're going to do it, for every system you'll have to purchase a backup device. Why to do so? If all the computers are connected together, you can have an external hard disk of some TBs or more than TBs, and that will be connected to the main computer, and all the connected systems will be saving or backing up the data on that one hard disk. So that is your backing up the data, and it is cost effective also. Minor effect of breakdowns means if you're not following an architecture of client server where a main computer is there to which all other computers are connected, instead you're going for a peer-to-peer network where all the computers are having the same capability. In that type of network, if a single or individual computer is having some problem, then it is not going to affect other computers which are there in the network. So that's why the term minor effect of breakdowns. Obviously it is going to save paper and time. You don't have to travel from one location to another to get the data. It can be there since it is in the digitized form. Paper hard copies you don't have to take out. That's why paper is also getting saved and time is also getting saved. Then what are the disadvantages of computer network? Though it is cost effective, but initially you have to expend a lot for setting up the network. So initial cost is involved. Then once you have set up the network, you'll have to employ a group of people or two or more people just for maintaining that network, for administration of that network. And if you have a client server network and the server is having a breakdown, then obviously the entire network setup will have a breakdown. Then if your computers are connected to your network, always they are threatened to viruses. There are chances that they may catch viruses and your system may be corrupted. Security issues are there. As I told, in one computer all the important files are stored and other connected computers are fetching the data from there. Might be there are spywares in the market who can try to access the data of your computer, and they can steal the data from your system and they can sell it to the third party just for money. Okay. Then comes network architecture based on where you have saved the data. Okay, previously the types of networks which we did, it was based on the geographical area getting covered and the number of computers there. Now the network architecture here, you will be means how the data is getting stored. Are you maintaining a main computer where all the data are stored and other connected computers are connected to that server, and they fetch the data by requesting to the main computer, and in return the main computer provides the data required by the connected computer. So if that type of network you are following, that is known as client server computer architecture, where one main computer is there. Main computer is having more memory, more processing speed, means it will be a strong computer in the sense that it will have more storage capacity, processing speed will be there, hard disk will be more. So that type of network is client server architecture. All the connected computers are known as clients and the main computer is known as server. Another architecture we have peer-to-peer architecture, where all the computers are having equal capability. Their memory will be same, their hard disk will be same, and all are connected to each other, and each and every computer will have the right to access the data from other computers. So this is network architecture, two types: client server architecture and peer-to-peer architecture. Next comes network topology, means how you're going to place the computers in the network. It's not about where you're going to save the data. As I told about network architecture, it depends where you have saved the main data and how the systems are connected. Network topology means the physical arrangement of computers in the network is known as network topology. So basically we have these types: linear topology is there, bus topology is there, star topology is there, ring ring topology, tree topology, and last one is mesh topology. I have collected this picture. Other than linear topology, all topologies are getting covered in this. So linear topology I'll explain once. Mesh topology is that type of topology in which each and every computer is connected to each and every other computer in the network. Let's see how many computers are there in this network. Altogether 6. So if one computer is there, then it will have 5 more connections, since more 5 are there which will be connected to that. You can count the number of lines connected with every single computer, it will be 5 only. Another one, ring topology. In ring topology, each and every computer is connected with two adjacent computers. So if this computer has to communicate with this one, then the data will go through either this way or this way to reach this. The shortest path is this one, so it will follow this one. And because of this type of structure, it is known as ring topology. Here, if one computer breaks down, it is not going to affect other computers. Same way in mesh topology, if one is it is having some issue, then others will not have any problem. Next comes star topology. Star topology, one main computer will be there and others will be connected to it. Setting up this type of network is very easy because simply you have to connect the new computer to the server in the center. But here, if the server is having some issue, then all these computers will have a breakdown. Next comes bus topology. In our lab also we have a bus topology. This is the simplest way or topology to set up the network. Here in the center a single bus line will be there where the data will be transmitted in bidirectional. Bidirectional means both the ways data can be transmitted, and all the computers are connected to this bus only. Suppose this computer has to send some data to this one, so it will send the data to bus and bus will see the destination address on that data, and accordingly it will transmit the data to the particular computer for which the data or the data means the information provided is meant for. One more is there, linear topology. Linear topology is there like each and every computer will be connected serially to each other. Like this computer will be connected to this, then this way in a line. Okay, but first and last computers will have only one connection to the very next. They will not have any other connection. So that is your linear topology. Then comes tree topology. Tree topology is basically a connection or combination of star topology plus bus topology, and sometimes linear topology is also included there. How come? Just see this figure. This is a star network, this is a star network, and it is connected to the bus. So basically it is a combination of star topology plus bus topology. Next is, what are the network components? Means other than the computers, the wires, some devices are required for transmitting the data from one computer to another. So we have switches, repeaters, hubs, routers, bridges, and gateways. Each and every is having a different purpose. Like let's start with a switch. Switch is that device which can suppose one system has to transmit the data to another computer. Okay, so that system will send the data to switch will process the data and it will send the data to that particular computer for which it is meant for. Okay, destination address will be there and it will transmit the data to that particular computer. If you have noticed, there is a switch in our computer lab also, and all the connections are made, all the ports are there, and to which all the Ethernet cables are connected. Then comes repeater. Repeaters are basically amplifiers. Sometimes what happens that when you transmit the data, when that data or signal reaches the destination, it becomes very weak and data is not clearly understandable at the receiving end. So in between we use a repeater which amplifies the signal strength so that it doesn't become weak while after reaching at the destination. The signal will be amplified or it will be repeated so that it will become strong enough to be received by the receiver. Then we have hubs. Hubs are similar to switches, but the only difference means between switch and hub is that switch transmits the data to the destination computer, but hub transmits the data to each and every computer of the network, and then other computers will identify whether that data is meant for them or not. If it is not meant for them, they will discard, and the computer for which it is meant, they will use it. It will use it. So hub is also sometimes known as a dumb switch. Okay, then comes router. Router is a type of device which is used to connect your system to any different type of network. Different type, like, see, whenever data is communicated means between computers, among computers on a network, they use some rules, and those rules are known as protocols. So if a network is there, it can have a protocol. Different protocols are there, like TCP/IP, FTP, UDP/IP. So it depends which type of protocol your network is using. So if a different protocol is used in two networks, like the you're connected to a network, then your device will be connected to the local area network of your ISP, and ISP in return will be connected to the global network. So for connecting your network to the ISP, you will be using a router, because you don't know what type of network is being followed by your local ISP. So router basically used for connecting networks following different protocols, and basically it will be in a LAN. Okay. LAN. Then bridges. Bridges, again, two networks are connected which are following the same protocol. Remember, connecting two networks which are following the same protocols we use in between a bridge. Then gateways, connecting two different networks having different protocols, then a gateway is used. Okay, then what is an internet? Internet basically is the network of networks. As I told, different networks all over the world are connected together, and all those networks are communicating through a set of rules, and those set of rules are known as protocols. And commonly used protocols for data transfer over the internet are TCP/IP, which stands for Transmission Control Protocol and Internet Protocol, and FTP, File Transfer Protocol, one more UDP/IP, that is also there. Then comes World Wide Web. The World Wide Web, commonly known as the web, is a way of accessing information over the internet. Means when you fetch data from internet, somewhere it is stored, then only it fetches the data from there. It contains millions of documents called web pages, and all those web pages are connected together through hyperlinks. It was developed by Tim Berners-Lee along with Robert Carrillo, invented the World Wide Web while working at CERN, European Council for Nuclear Research, in 1990. Then what are the requirements to connect to the network or the internet? If you have a computer, not only that is enough, you need to acquire a modem, then account with an ISP, and a browser, means a software to access the internet. Computer you all know, but what is modem? Modem is that device which converts your analog signals to digital signals and digital signals to analog signals. Now you think why there is a need to convert the data. Your computer understands only digital data, but when you transmit the data on the telephone cables will not understand digital data, they understand only your analog signals. So just keep in mind, two computers are there which are connected through a telephone line, and the digital computer at the sender's end wants to send some data to the receiver end. So some data will be given on the telephone line. So when digital data will be transmitted through this telephone line, obviously it has to be converted to analog form. So at the receiver end also one modem is required, and at the sender's end also one modem is required. At the sender's end, when data will be transmitted through the telephone cable, first it will be converted to analog signals, and that analog signal will be transmitted through the telephone cable. Once it is reaching the receiver's end, again the modem at the receiver end will convert that analog signal to digital so that the receiver computer can understand. So I hope all the topics are clear for today. This much is sufficient. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.